Well, hello, everybody. I am here with Alicia, and we're here to talk today about her practice and some of the work that she does at Alliance Counseling Group. So, Alicia, how are you this morning?
I am doing well this morning. Yeah, grateful that it's like spring weather-ish.
Yes, it looks like it outside, but
Right.
yeah, I'll enjoy it from a closed window.
Right.
Well, normally when I'm engaging a therapist, I like to start with what are their credentials. So, if you don't mind, could you
Mhm.
tell me the little letters behind your name?
Yeah, the letters are LMFT. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Now, a marriage and family therapist is you're not the only one on Alliance, but there are less marriage and family therapists than some of the other
Yeah.
licenses. So what's special from your perspective? What's special for MFT, and why did you pick that?
Yeah. I think what stood out to me about the marriage and family therapy licensing is the systematic approach. Like, I think no matter who you talk to, no matter who you're sitting with in the room, there's so much that comes with them, like their childhood, their best friend, the different wounds from different people and different interactions. And I think marriage and family therapy really focuses on that, like who they're bringing with them and diving into their story and diving into the different systems that are with all of us.
Love it. And that's not to say that the Masters of Social Work, the MSW, or the LPC's licensed professional counselors wouldn't talk like that. But the
Sure.
MFT gets a special emphasis and a lot more training
Hmm.
in systems work.
Yes. Yep.
That's one of the things that we're. Isn't there a number of relationship hours you have to earn in
Hmm.
your licensing process?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not sure the exact number, but yeah, a lot of work with different couples and making sure that there's like different family systems in the room and making sure that we're really like getting a lot of work and practice with that and understanding what that means and what that looks like.
Nice. Well, um, when you do this work, talk about systems
Mhm.
and the family wounds. Who is an ideal client? Who do you like to work with?
Yeah, I think I really like a range of different clients. When I think about what is kind of like the similarity behind the different clients, I think what comes to mind is like transitions, like different transitions in life. Like I really enjoy college students, the transition of like independence in that, or like working with new moms and the transition into like what that looks like in their life or the transition into marriage. Like I think working with people who are like in that space of trying to figure out like what does life look like in this season, I think that's my ideal, which is pretty broad, but I think that's what I've really found to enjoy, like kind of figuring out what new seasons look like.
How do you think clients know um, that in a transition it's time to reach out?
Hmm.
Because maybe naively thinking like, oh well, I'm going out to this new thing
Hmm.
that'll be a big deal. I'll go do that. But oh, in that it might help to call Alicia.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I think there's probably different signs, and I think it, of course, depends on the person. But I think, like, in those transitions, like noticing stressors or noticing different patterns that are coming up. Like, I know a lot of my work is like diving into the patterns that we notice of like how you're reacting to different things. So, like, if you notice that there's a lot of stress and then you're reacting in ways of like isolating yourself or reacting in ways of like escalating, like noticing those different patterns and saying like, hey, like I'm noticing this is continuing to happen. It doesn't feel like the healthiest way to cope with this transition or this stressor. Like it's time to talk through and notice what those patterns are so that I can start shifting those.
Well, maybe um, tell me if I'm on the right track here, but
Mhm.
maybe that. the new transition, a new stressor, is revealing the same pattern that's been repeated most of your
Hmm.
life. And so the this most recent event is calling your attention to probably this problem that's been true for a long time.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of like what I notice in the work with different people of like different transitions really highlight the pattern, but the pattern's been happening for years, like since childhood usually, or since different like wounds. And then we just really highlight like what is that pattern and how can we shift it and how can we identify it more in the moment.
I called it a problem, but what's the language you use?
I think what I would call it is just kind of like a pain point that pops up, and then we cope in different ways. Like I said, like if you notice you're coping in an unhealthy way or coping in a way that you think like, hey, there's probably a different way or like a healthier way to cope with it, then I'd say it's time to jump into a session and try to figure out like, why am I coping this way and how can I cope differently? Which I don't think it's a problem. Usually it comes from like a past experience and it comes from like, oh, like I need to survive in some way or I need to like deal with this in some way. And that's the way that we deal with it from childhood and then it continues to be the same pattern.
And so maybe um, me calling it a problem could be some unkindness
Hmm.
maybe when we're more generous with ourselves, um, what what could be seen as a problem is is this pattern. It's been
Hmm.
this pain. It's been this coping, and um, it may lead to situations that you don't like, but
Hmm.
it's coming from somewhere genuine and deeper into what a client might be dealing with.
Right. And usually the initial hurt, it's not a problem. Like it usually is something that makes sense in that moment. But as we continue to do the same pattern, like it continues to not really work for us the way it did that first and initial time, which then it might like in some lens look like a problem, but not necessarily be because of that initial hurt.
So it sounds like there's a lot of self discovery in the
Mhm.
work that you're doing with clients.
Yeah, yeah, I really like clients to just explore like inwardly, like what is going on and think back to like those origins of like when did that hurt happen and how can I like have some grace for myself in that moment, but also have the self-awareness in the moment to start shifting those patterns.
Are there any tools or approaches that you really like to lean on to help clients do this work?
Yeah, I think a lot of grace, a lot of like understanding and empathy and just exploration of like what is happening in the moments, what is making these patterns happen. Yeah, and a lot of like exploration into like what is going on with myself and how can I continue to be aware and grow in that.
It sounds like you would be a gentle guide for a client
Mm.
as they go on this journey.
Yeah, I like that description. Like I try to bring a lot of warmth and understanding but also like challenging in the moment of like how can you shift those different patterns.
Do you work with couples? Being
I
a
do
marriage
work
and
with
family
couples.
therapist?
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I think like my approach can be really beneficial for individuals, but also really beneficial for couples. Like those same patterns that I was talking about that we can figure out with individuals, those patterns and cycles are happening in couples. Like one couple or one partner in the marriage does something that triggers something from the past in one partner, and then usually it turns into this cycle that happens and then we can do the work like I was describing before individually, but doing it with the partner to grow empathy for each other and to grow understanding and then start shifting those cycles together.
I've learned in my work and being married that it seems like it's the same fight,
Hmm.
different content, but it, it doesn't matter how long you're married. It's probably the same fight.
Yeah. And usually, like in my work, I really dig into like what is the root that's going on? Because I know the classic fight of like socks on the ground like brings this big argument. It's like it's not about the socks, it's about what you're feeling in that. Like, are you feeling unheard in that moment? And does that bring you back to your 8-year-old self? And how can we start to understand that and understand what's underneath it so that it's not just like, oh, these socks are super annoying right now. It's like, oh, I'm feeling unheard. How can I start to work to heal that part of me and start shifting the pattern of how I respond in that?
Is there a couples theory that you like to lean on?
Yeah, the theory that I use is called restoration therapy. Like I said, it's a lot of those cycles and understanding that, and then shifting those patterns and starting to speak truth to yourself so that you can heal those different parts of yourself.
Love it. Um, and you will see some clients virtually. There, you offered some of your sessions over telehealth.
Yeah,
Will you work with couples virtually?
I will. I know it's not as ideal as like sitting in the room, but I know there's a lot of couples, like I spoke earlier about, like in transition and like with new kids and like transitioning in different ways. And then virtual seems to be a pretty ideal way to like the kids are in bed, can't leave, you don't want to pay for a sitter. So let's hop on Zoom and jump into it and dive into it as well as we can virtually.
And I found that I'm curious for your input on this.
Mhm.
That the virtual platform, it slows down the communication,
Mm,
because that, like when two people are talking, then it's sort of you can't hear anything, and so like it requires that conversation to slow a little. Do you,
mhm.
do you notice that?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think like virtually it kind of takes a second. Like sometimes you have to like pause differently, just like whether it's an internet issue or whether it's just to like make sure that you're intentionally hearing each other. And I think a lot of really good work comes from like really hearing each other and making sure that you're tracking with each other, which I think virtual has like that additional element of like, let's make sure that we're really understanding each other. And it's just like kind of a tool to make sure that that's happening.
Right, right. Well, I was curious.
Mhm,
What in joining the alliance team?
mhm,
Um, what has been a moment that has uh, stood out and would sort of
hmm.
uh, capture a little bit some of the um, your motivation for being a marriage and family therapist?
Do you mind clarifying your question? Um, is it specifically like about the marriage and family therapy or about being with Alliance?
Well, I guess to be honest, I was hoping that that the answer would be both of those things. You being a marriage family therapist at Alliance made all the difference. Um, but
I think, yeah, I can jump into
yeah,
to that and you
mostly. While I'd love that the alliance piece would be a big difference, I think really hearing your heart in that answer would be most interesting.
yeah, I think one aspect of it is like the collaboration that's possible. Like, I know working in the Holland office, there's been some chances of like me either working individually or working with a couple and being able to like then have the individual work with another therapist and couples work and like of course with the release from those clients being able to collaborate and making sure that we're holistically supporting them, like being in collaboration with the other therapist and supporting then the couple like more holistically than you can if either just the individual or just the couple is sitting with you in the room.
I, I love that, and um, it's it's interesting that you would even see that that's a value that like couples
Hmm.
counseling. Uh, would you say it's not enough, or what? Um,
Hmm.
when is that the individual work? Um, like a client could expect, oh, I'm doing couples, but maybe I'm also needing to do individual work.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So I'm sure some people kind of get stuck with that of like, is this enough? Is this not enough? But I know like sometimes there's different things highlighted in couples work that working individually on those different patterns or different patterns that you're noticing continuing to come up, then working individually on those things can really benefit the couples work and even make the couples work go quicker than it would have if there was so much time and energy put on some of those individual patterns sitting together in couples work, if that makes sense.
Yeah, almost there's an efficiency that happens
Mm-hmm.
in the change process that if you can, um, of course, work with your partner,
Mm-hmm.
uh, that's where meaningful change is going to happen. But there are times where you need somebody in your corner with individual attention the
Mm-hmm.
whole time, going into deeper understanding, and that somehow will lead to better efficiency for when
Yeah.
you are, which is such a weird. Um, you don't often think of uh, the value of efficiency with counseling, but
Mm-hmm.
um, is there a better word maybe than efficiency?
I wonder about increased understanding, like if that's a better way to describe it, of like if you're able to like really understand yourself and dive into that deeper individually, then the benefit of that with couples work as well, of like coming in then with that understanding instead of having to take like a whole session to dive deeper into your understanding with couples work.
Love it. And then hopefully with that understanding, then there's less reactivity, and
Hmm.
the two of you can figure out your life together.
Hmm. Yeah,
Nice.
more insight.
Well, I'm glad, Alicia, that you are part of our alliance team, and um, that you fit with these assets of being a marriage and family therapist and taking
Yeah,
clients on this journey. So, thank you for the work that you do, and for doing it at Alliance.
yeah, thank you.
All right, we'll see you at the office.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.